And we are live. Welcome to episode 8 of the Hand to Mouth podcast. My regular co-host Mercy Barron is on vacation, so it is my pleasure to welcome my guest co-host today, Chef Claudia Sandoval. She wowed America when she won season 6 of MasterChef, and most recently, she is one of the 3 judges on the all-new MasterChef Latino. As a fellow lover of whiskey and wine, we together thought a morning chat with 2 female forces in the industry would be a great idea. We welcome winemaker Kris Magnussen Shute of Lechuza Vineyard, which is located in Baja's wine country, Valle de Guadalupe, just an hour and a half south of San Diego, along with Michelle Pearson, whiskey maven and manager of Bar 3 Piece. Yes. Michelle has been educating folks on the elements of whiskeys from around the globe through the weekly series, The Whiskey Society, for over 5 years. So welcome, ladies. Thanks for being on the show.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Good way to start the morning.
I think so. I agree. Well, I'm so glad to have you here. Claudia, welcome.
Yeah.
You're my co-host, and I'm really excited.
I'm a co-host. I'm so excited.
Just so everybody knows, Claudia is actually a client of mine. I am her publicist and manager also, but we're great friends. And we both have a really wonderful love of both whiskey and wine. So this is the perfect culmination of the show today. So.
Yeah. We were talking, and she says, Marie's like, oh, I gotta invite you to be my guest co-host. Mercy's gonna be out, and I was like, oh my gosh, it would be phenomenal if we did something around whiskey and wine. And I specifically thought about that because if anybody who follows any of my social channels, I think, will know that I am like constantly visiting these 2 ladies. And it's for good measure because I need it, especially considering the high stress jobs that I have. And these ladies are doing some phenomenal things, and I couldn't think of 2 other people that I would want here more than these 2 ladies because they're killing it. And not only are they killing it, they're doing some really, really exciting things just within wine and whiskey, and they're breaking boundaries. And I love that. I love that about you guys. I think that that's one of the biggest things that inspires me about you guys and why I love having conversations with you. I mean, Michelle, you were recently talking to me about places that you've been, and all the places that she's like gone to Ireland and Scotland and all these places, and I'm like, can you take me? Take me, please. Let's do it.
Take this show on the road.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right?
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, and so I have been to Lechuza. I have been to Bar 3 Piece. I will say some of my experiences at Bar 3 Piece, I am floored by the number of people that you guys can cram in there during a whiskey society.
I know.
And it's like the line never ends going out that secret door, and it's phenomenal. And luckily, I have an in with a pretty famous redhead who slides me in when there's no seats left. Apparently, she's a regular.
Whoa. This is how rumors are started.
Oh, goodness.
Michelle, talk to us a little bit about this Whiskey Society.
So Whiskey Society is something that myself and then also Jay Stapleton run together. So we do it twice a week, and it's basically a whiskey educational series. So it'll either be him or myself presenting and just talking about, the process of fermentation, process of distillation, just kind of explain to people what whiskey is, how to drink it, talking about flavor profiles, and then we'll also have master distillers come through, brand ambassadors, that sort of thing. And so it's a chance to come in and get drunk, have a good time, and also learn something.
I mean, no big deal, but you just had Eddie Russell here in San Diego.
Did, yeah.
I mean, this guy is a master in terms of bourbon, and so. I mean, I was like, I think standing 3 feet away from him, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is my life right now.
Hold on just a second. Good morning, Mercy. Good to see you. I'm so glad you joined way off in Bon Air. So she's got her toes in the sand, and she's joining us from there anyway. Now, Michelle, how long have you been into whiskey?
So I come from a whiskey drinking family.
Okay.
Actually, so I actually like to joke. My dad used to keep a bottle of wild turkey in the liquor cabinet, so that was the first spirit I ever tasted. It was like, oh, this is what alcohol is supposed to taste like, and now I work in the industry. So really, as long as I've been drinking whiskey. And it wasn't until I kind of always wanted to work in the bartending industry in the first place, and so it just kind of all fell into place. 5 years ago when I got hired on at $7,000. Yeah.
Wonderful. And now we do have, we also have Kris Magnussen Shute here, who is a special friend of mine. I'm so excited to have you here today and coming all the way up from Baja. Can you tell us a little bit about your history?
Sure. So in the same realm, I started the wine industry as a professional consumer, and I really kind of
I'm gonna totally use that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Professional consumer.
And I fell in love with the wine world at Wine Cask in Santa Barbara. I used to be one of the managers there, and I saw the process from the flip side, and I kind of fell in love with that. And so when my parents started this project, and it was just a hobby gone too big, and they approached my husband and I, it was like, okay, well, let's sell the ranch or sell the wine. And so my husband and I quit our jobs, moved down to Baja 5 years ago, and really kind of dove in with both feet, and since then we've been super, super blessed and happy to be in Baja for sure.
And so it is a complete family affair.
Yes, yes. Even my 3-year-old is out in the fields with us during harvest and everything. It's super cool.
What a great way to grow up.
Yeah. No, it's so funny
He's
because
gonna have some great experiences and memories there of always being with the family, but out
Yeah.
in nature and constantly around.
well, and he also has a wine named after him, the Royal
Oh.
Blush. And so
Aw.
the other day I let him smell it, and I'm like, okay, love, what does it smell like? He's like, berries. And I'm like, yes, yes.
Making Mama proud.
Yes. Because there are some times where he smells the wine and he's like, yuck. I get it.
And for you, you're like, good.
Yeah.
You just stay that way for the next 20 years.
Yeah. I have
Not
a feeling
gonna
that's
happen.
not going to happen at all. He's still a Magnussen.
But Kris, I think, and here I am boasting about all of this amazing stuff you guys are doing. I think like one of the cool things that you don't share often is like you are literally on some of the most amazing restaurants' wine lists.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. We have been super honored and blessed to have the best clients, and it's moments like this that reassure us that we're doing the right thing. So we have been I helped curate the Mexican wine section for the French Laundry back in 2015, and so
Wow.
they reached out to me directly and they said, you know what, not only do we want Lechuza, but we want your help in making this list. And for me, it was an epic moment because it wasn't just representing us. It was, for the first time in existence, Mexico was going to be on Thomas Keller's list. So that was
Incredible.
just a super,
Yeah.
super moment. And I'm proud to say we have 3 wines on the list, as well that we are continuing to expand the section there, and I think it's kind of giving Baja the recognition that it deserves, because it's not just kind of the new hip thing; it's
Right.
also something substantial.
Yeah, everyone keeps calling it the new Napa, right? I mean,
Sure.
like, and I often like, I like
You
it, but then
cringe
I
a little
don't. I
bit?
cringe a little bit because it's not the new Napa. It's completely different.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, the terroir is different, and that has so much to do with
Yeah.
it. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. A common question that I get, especially being obviously a gringa, is why not Temecula? Why not Napa? Why did you guys choose here? And I try to explain to the best of my capability that it's because of Baja. It's because of the neighbors. It's because of
Right.
the community. And all of that really kind of puts us in a position to succeed.
Yeah.
And then from there, the terroir, the microclimates, the soil composition, the different varietals we have, the different limits and regulations that we don't have.
Right.
That kind of is essentially Mexicano.
Yeah.
So we can push a lot of boundaries. And I think that in return, it has really allowed us to kind of set our own boundaries and our own limits. And it's exciting to be able to do it with such great talent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super, super fortunate.
So
One of my
awesome.
favorite places to run away to.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
either
Take
with
me
you
with
or with
you.
her.
Yeah.
It's like nighttime or daytime.
Have
What
to
time of
do
day
a
is
group
it?
field trip, a follow
I
up.
100%. I 100%
Absolutely.
agree
We
with
can
that.
do a remote show. Right,
Yeah.
Danielle? Are you coming? You'll come.
She's like wine and whiskey. Is that even a question?
Oh, the stories that we'd have to go ahead and cut out of that episode.
Censorship.
I know, right? Now, okay, so Michelle, one of the things I wanted to find out is, for so many, not myself, but for so many, whiskey is not necessarily their choice spirit,
For sure.
and so I believe that it's because they don't exactly know what they're looking for.
Mhm.
It's just, I think that when we were all younger, you drank, either old men drank whiskey or you were drinking the worst stuff on the planet just to
Mhm.
get, something into your body as fast as possible when you're
Yeah.
like 21, right?
Yeah.
So when you find someone who is brand new to whiskey, especially a woman, right? What are some of the kind of education processes that you go through with teaching them? And we've got one here that you
Yeah.
can talk to us about.
So I do really like that you brought that up because drinking whiskey and tasting whiskey really is very different than tasting beer or wine or I guess lower ABV spirits,
Mhm.
and that it is really high alcohol content. And so if you were to drink it neat or on the rocks,
Mhm.
I always suggest start with nosing it. But when you nose it, you want to make sure that you keep your mouth open, and that
Okay.
allows the alcohol to pass through.
Okay.
And I
Do
actually
you
How close do
swirl
we
like
get?
you?
So you
Oh,
really don't need to
interesting.
swirl it
Okay.
because it's already quite agitated.
Okay,
You don't really
all
want to
right.
agitate it more.
Like, do
I
you
never
stick your
knew
whole
about
face?
the opening of the mouth.
I didn't
Oh my
know
gosh,
either.
it's so important.
Yeah.
So do you stick your whole nose in it like you do with wine? Like, or is
You
it
know,
strong enough to where? Okay.
I have it right about here. It kind of depends. Everybody's septums are different. So it's really just whatever works for you. If it starts to hurt, just pull back a little bit.
If it starts to hurt, just pull back a little
Pull back
bit.
a little
All
bit.
right,
Word
you
of
might
advice.
be a little too close. Yeah. It's a burning sensation on your face.
Not supposed to be a burning sensation. That is,
That's so
I won't say
great.
there's a wrong way to drink a whiskey, but try to avoid
See,
that
these
one.
are these are the
So-
reasons we do this.
What is this?
So,
What are we smelling? What are we looking at?
I'm getting hot.
Oh, goodness.
I haven't even drank anything.
I don't like to put food words into anybody's mouth because
Uh-huh.
everybody's palate is different. But with this one, you're definitely going to be getting a lot of notes of vanilla, caramel.
Yeah.
For me on the palate, I personally get a lot of cherry cola.
Oh.
Okay, now I
As
gotta.
soon as you said that, it was like wham.
But see, then it just went into your head too, and so
Yeah.
we had this really funny experience when a few of us were at a distillery picking out a barrel to purchase. This is an example of one of those. This is a barrel selection that we did that they bottled up for us from Wild Turkey Distillery. But we were at a barrel selection, and one of the employees was smelling it. Was like, "Oh, that smells like burritos." And then all anybody could smell after that
Was
was burritos.
burritos.
I was like, "Oh, cilantro. Yeah, absolutely. I get that." But the minute
That's
it's in your
so
head,
funny.
yeah. So
But I think it almost smells like vanilla Coke to me.
oh,
Like
yeah,
so when
okay.
like do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As soon as
Yeah.
you said
Because I
cherry
can
Coke,
really smell the
I
vanilla.
didn't smell cherry Coke. I smelled vanilla Coke, like Coke,
Yeah.
like like
Yeah.
the vanilla version of
Mhm.
it.
Oh,
So I was
yeah,
like, that's
absolutely.
what it is.
Yeah, totally. It's like cream soda.
Yeah,
love
like
it.
cream soda.
Mhm.
I just feel
Oh my
like-
goodness, look at all that. Claudia, you love. Oh,
Hello, Jessie.
hola preciosa.
Huh,
Let's
they must be
see.
talking
There's so
to
many
you.
people. Hi everyone. Kris is my hero. Yeah. Hey, who's the red-headed? She's an imposter who likes wine and whiskey. Make sure that you guys leave comments if you guys have any questions for our, for our guests. Definitely make sure that you add those questions. Or if you have any questions about how to taste or all of that good stuff, definitely share your questions.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Can they see this bottle? Yes, they
Yeah.
can. All right. So this is one of the bottles that you have available at Bar 3 Piece.
Yes.
So with this whiskey, once you would nose it,
Yes.
what would be the other things? I mean, what are,
So
are we
the next
looking?
piece is that you want to have a really just take a really small amount into your mouth, just enough to coat your palate.
Okay.
And you're just gonna kind of chew on it for a couple of seconds. Just let it coat your entire mouth. So a couple of things. This whiskey's really hot. It's
You
110
chewed it
proof.
fast.
So I did also bring some water if you want to add some water to
Her
it.
face
Oh,
was like,
God, no.
And
I
then
don't
the
know
other
what's
thing-
happening, guys.
Well, what I love
Are you
is
not a whiskey drinker?
no, I am. So I'm sorry. My face just gives everything away. I'm trying to determine where it's hitting me, and I'm getting these crazy sort of, and
Sure.
nothing
Tingles?
is tingles on the bottom, back,
Sides.
undersides
Yes.
of my
Yeah.
tongue. Not that I don't like it. I like it. But it's just I'm trying to figure it all out. That's me thinking. That's my thinking face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then
That's
it
a painful
coats,
thinking face.
but it coats so nicely, and I have this nice layer on it. It's a weighty. It's a weighty
It's yes,
whiskey.
it's very oily, very viscous. And so I forget where I was going with that, but so basically when you're tasting it, you're gonna get that what you're referring to right there actually is the mouthfeel.
Okay.
Is the way it literally feels in your mouth.
Mhm.
And then when you're looking for different flavors in it, that's referred to as the palate for it.
Okay.
And I like to exhale as it dissipates
Oh,
into
well, I
my
have
mouth.
to do that again.
And
Oh.
that
I'll have
Allows
to try
that
that one more time,
and
guys.
it gives you that nice finish on it as well.
Okay.
Now, what does the effect of the water do to it?
So the whiskey it doesn't have sugar in it, but it has sucrose in it, and so the water actually attaches onto it, and so it pulls those sweet flavors up to the top, and so not only does it cut down on the ABV, so it doesn't burn quite as much, it opens it up a little bit, and gets you to pick out some more flavors you wouldn't have originally gotten.
Yeah, super caramel for me. Like super caramels.
You know what's really impressive too?
I love
is
it.
The smell is much stronger than the taste. I mean, it scares you a little bit when you smell it because it's really it's quite strong.
You know, the other day, this is totally off topic, but completely relevant. People are always criticizing me smelling food on the show, and I have to explain so often that like we have over 10,000 receptors in our nose that can actually remind us of 500,000 smells. Our like memory sensors can like, you know, and so that's one of the big reasons why I smell food. And I think just I'm in, you know, I'm whiskey and wine and all of it, and it's all so smell related, and it's so important, and it's so true. Sometimes, you know, because we're so used to like shooting or like whatever alcohol it is, you know, we smell it and we're like, oh, it brings back all of those ugly memories, right? One of those 500,000 memories ends up being a bad one. And you start to think, you start to have like, you know, this relationship of, you know, it doesn't smell good, and so therefore it must not taste good. And then you taste something like this and you're like blown away. I mean, this is like home to me, right? It's vanilla, it's caramel, it's nostalgic, it's almost in flavors.
Well, and I think that's what I talk about too sometimes when it comes to tasting wine, is that there is a Rolodex of flavors in your head, and it's crazy how you are emotionally triggered, and a smell or a taste can take you back to the moment when you first had this, or when you were with that person. And I think that that's what's fun. I started off by going to culinary school, so for me, my background is in the food, but then it lent itself so easily to the wine world, because very much in that same concept of, you know, let's figure out how to trigger the right things and how to, you know, be one of those main cards in the Rolodex.
Well, and what I love about it is the idea of, you know, the sensories all being pulled in for this one taste that we will have. It pulls in a history of ours. So the experience is so dynamic. It's not it's not one dimensional. And we've got a certain Adam Shute on here asking for a friend.
Do you have any whiskey for sale
My
today?
husband. You know what? We make wine, but we drink whiskey. It's true.
You know, so I've got the mouthfeel, and I did the exhale on that, and it's a totally different experience. With the exhale.
And so that was also, I mean, I think it was your first sip or second sip. Your second sip and your third sip is where you actually start to get a lot more of the flavor profile as well, because your palate's been primed. It's okay with all of the alcohol that just hit it.
So the first glass is priming.
Priming,
and then we go to the
third whiskey. I think you should be able to
I'm pretty sure
she
said taste, but let's go with glass.
I hear what I want to hear.
Sounds about right.
So I have a question. Whiskey with an E, whiskey without an E. What's the difference?
Different countries spell it differently. What's interesting is so Scotch whiskey, for example, is spelled without the E. Irish whiskey is spelled with the E. Kind of hilariously, actually, because when Irish whiskey started to become a much more marketable product back in the 1700s, they were differentiating themselves from Scotch whiskey and being like, no, we're a higher end spirit. We have the E added to it.
We have an E.
But really, it doesn't really matter that much. It's just a preference of spelling. It doesn't have anything to do with the product that's in it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Another question. I'm asking all the questions that everybody always wants.
That's right.
Wants to know.
There's no problem with that.
Hey, I love Jack Daniels. Okay, so what's the difference between like why are some called bourbons and some are called whiskeys?
So whiskey is an overarching term, and then there are different styles of whiskey within that. So whiskey is really just any grain that's been fermented, distilled, and then aged in oak barrels.
Got it.
For any period of time. But then bourbon is a legal term, basically that was
Geographical, right?
It's geographical and that has to be made in the United States, but it's actually not specific to Kentucky.
So it's not specific to Bourbon County?
Not specific to Bourbon County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I thought that it did.
Yeah.
I
thought it was
that
like Champagne where it had to be.
From Champagne.
Mm-hmm.
So not quite that. It's actually a law that was enacted basically to make sure people weren't making gut rot.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. When whiskey bourbon started to become really popular in the United States, a lot of people started making spirits that they were pretending was
Bathtub
bourbon was
gin.
not. Yeah.
Bathtub gin. Life and Food is on.
I know. Hey there, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
I don't know if it's Antonio or Kristen, but hi to both of you.
I love it.
Awesome.
Now, I know that earlier, before the show started, you said that you had been in the hospitality for quite a long time, but that, really the whiskey focus only came about 5 years ago or so.
Yes.
So where did you get that passion to decide that that was the route you wanted to go?
I should rephrase that. The whiskey focus started paying me 5 years ago.
Okay. All right. Instead of you paying for the whiskey focus. Yeah.
So I was actually the bar that I work at now, $7,000. I was actually already a regular there before I got hired on. I was
Maybe
there
I'll
a
end up
few
working there
times a
too.
week.
I was like, new career path.
And eventually was like, I'm spending too much money.
No.
Please hire me.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You're like, could we flop this relationship?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fantastic. And then had you already been self-educating on the details of whiskey and the fine notes of that?
To a degree, I knew what I liked and what I didn't like, but this particular company has definitely opened up so much opportunity for education. I never would have dreamed 5 years ago that I would have gotten to learn as much as I have from them at this point in time. And it's a really deep rabbit hole. It really is endless. There's you can talk about the effect of distillation, what the mash bill is, and then you suddenly talk about the effect of aging in a warehouse and the difference of a barrel that's 2 feet away from another one and why it tastes completely different after the same amount of time. And, to the point that people are now starting to do studies on, where that tree was sourced from to make the barrel, how does that affect the flavor profile as well? It's just, you can go.
Keep going
real
deeper
far down.
and deeper.
Yes.
Now, okay, so with this particular whiskey, was this one that you would suggest for someone who was just starting out on their whiskey journey?
Absolutely. Only because I personally love this one. This is definitely an intense whiskey, but if you're just starting on your whiskey journey, add water to it for sure.
Okay.
Taste it by itself first. Always do it unadulterated.
And how much water are we talking? I mean, we're not talking like a half a...
No.
half the glass.
So what I have here actually is this little water dropper. And so you really just do a couple drops.
Okay.
And that just allows it to open up. And then really you can just do it to taste as many times as you want to until it's at the point that you want.
So are you supposed to pack your own dropper?
I know.
You can also just grab a little straw and like a glass of water is what we do at the bar a lot as well.
Okay.
And just do a water dropper.
Now, have you ever been in the bar and had somebody, they come with their own?
We do actually. We do have a few customers that do that.
Wow.
We have some customers that come to Whiskey Society with their own dropper and with their own Glencairn glasses, which is what this is.
Okay.
Is their own nice whiskey glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic.
Well, it looks like we've got Puerto Rico. People in Puerto Rico. Say hello to Puerto Rico,
Hello.
everyone. I should be working, but I'm learning so much right now. This is my job. I love my job.
It's a tough life.
Do what you love.
Do what you love, guys. Saludos a Kristen and Claudia. I admire you both. Alex Almodovar. Yeah, super nice. Apoyando a Chef Claudia del 100. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Absolutely. And now, Kris, I know that this has been a family affair for how long now?
My family started the project in 2003. And then I was wrapping up with culinary school, and my dad said, "Hey, sis, I've got this proposition for you. I would love it if I sponsored you to go to UC Davis and become our family winemaker."
Wow.
Super great in theory, right?
Wow.
However, I was in my young 20s living in Santa Barbara, single. And I said to my dad, I was like, absolutely not. Like, that sounds awful. I'm not going to school again. Like, I'm good. And so he said, well, fine. Well, if you're not going to do it, then I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he decided to join UC Davis. And
Best program.
Yeah. Because any hobbies that my dad did, he always studied the best way how to do it. He always really, really wanted to knock it out of the park.
Mhm.
And so this was just supposed to be a family hobby. Planted the vines in 2005, first vintage 2007. By 2012, it was, you know, our barrels were like rabbits in the cave, and it just kept multiplying. And my father was producing just under 300 cases. And at this point, we had our family of 4. My mom didn't really drink, and so there wasn't a retirement plan in this retirement plan. So it was either sell the ranch or turn it into a business. And so my husband and I joined the team just over 5 years ago, turned it into a business, and assumed all of the day-to-day responsibilities, and we learned everything that we do know on site, and started making some really great wine under my father, and then now we're making some under our own feet. So it's exciting, yeah.
Well, I hope to see that this is a great legacy for your father, clearly.
Absolutely.
You know, and for his own daughter to be there with hands on the vines, because you are the winemaker now.
Yeah, it would be selfish of me not to say that it's a collective effort, just because my husband and I do the every day together.
Right.
Yeah.
He manages more of the farming aspect and the barrel management, and then I do more of the scientific stuff and the business stuff. But when we sit down, we do roundtable discussions when it comes to doing some of the blends, and that's what's really exciting, is that we all have different palates. My husband's more of a beer guy. I'm more of an everything gal. So,
She's like, I love the world.
Yeah, no. I love gin and whiskey. I think those are my lifelines. And so it's really fun and exciting to come together and try to present a wine that appeals to different palates.
Phenomenal. And for you right now, what do we have that you've brought today?
Okay, so what we are tasting today is our 2014 Cabernet Sauvignon. This is 100% Cabernet. And what's important about talking about a monovarietal is sometimes when you do a blend, you can kind of manipulate the flavor profile by bringing in different grapes and different benefits. By doing a monovarietal, you're plainly saying that this is what this grape is from this region, from this year. So almost like a time capsule. So this is about 90% estate fruit. The reason I'm swirling it is because it is kind of a fresh bottle, and by opening it up, the air is kind of allowing some of the more softer notes to come forward a little bit, and some of the more assertive notes like the acid and the tannins to fall back a little bit.
Okay.
So by doing that,
What are tannins?
Tannins are, you know, when you have tea, what sucks the moisture out.
Sucks the spit out of your mouth?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, it's those qualities, and tannins are from in the wine from your seeds and your skins, as well as the barrel aging.
Okay. And then just to recap again, a monovarietal pretty much just means one grape. So not like a blend of Cabernet and like a, I don't know, Sangiovese or something.
Sure. And, you know, by law in the U.S., you can mount in a little bit of another grape and still call it a monovarietal. However, it's a challenge within our family to really stick true to being 100%.
Nice.
I think, you know, as Mexico starts to grow and as we start to get people wanting to learn about the region, it's important to show them it in its purest form.
Okay.
So this is 24 months in oak. We did, on this vintage, predominantly American oak on it. And so we work with Seguin Moreau barrels from Napa. So you can go ahead and sip it.
So we just go into sip, or do you want to
Well,
talk to
okay,
us
so
about
the
nosing
nose, yeah, so...
I mean, we got to teach everyone,
totally
too.
into
Yeah, so for me, something, it's very similar, I guess, to whiskey tasting. However, something that some people don't know is that you have a prominent nostril. So... For me, it's always the right hand side. For me,
Yeah, me too.
gives
Right.
you more notes,
Yeah.
and so
I
both
get different notes from
Right.
each. Yeah.
Interesting.
pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
And then also the color is super beautiful. I think, you know, the richer, deeper more opaque it is, it's probably going to be a more assertive wine. I think this has, you know, a beautiful balance.
I never know how to say that. I know somebody has said to me that you say earthy. I always want to say musty, and I know that's a terrible word, but that's what I get on some of the heavier. Like I love Bordeaux's,
Sure.
and I love that super just dank, dark in a basement.
Yes.
Like I don't know, you know, it's like that's what it
Yeah,
reminds me
musty.
of. And it's like, and it keeps you, and then that's why I like whiskey. It makes me warm inside. It
Right.
just that's the overall feeling that I get, and that's what I get with, you know, slight on this Cabernet.
Well, and just like we were talking about whiskey, I don't write back labels anymore. I don't want to tell you what to think. I have a small story about the family, about my dad who started this project, and an homage to him. But at the same time, it is rhetoric. You know, I want you to figure out where it falls in your heart and in your mind.
Yeah. I have a question. When people say, "Oh, look at the legs on that," what are they talking about?
So as you swirl it
Yeah.
in your glass,
Yes.
and you see the residual wine
Oh,
and how it drips down.
got it.
So the mouthfeel, back to whiskey, that we were talking about, the more viscous it feels, the slower it's going to drip down. The higher alcohol it has and the thinner it is, it goes down quicker. And so you kind of relate it to how it's going to be presently in your mouth.
Got it.
And the finish.
Got it. Got it.
So you see this one is like very, very kind of slow to start, and
It is kind of slow to start.
yeah, I love this cab. What do you guys
I do
get from it?
too.
Thanks. No.
Yeah. This is so drinkable.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that too, and then I was like, it's 10:30 in the morning.
I feel a little bit of judgment.
Yeah.
Not okay, guys.
Well, and the reason I chose this wine, I was talking to Claudia this morning, is, you know, when she told me bring a wine that you want to talk about, I love all of my wines, just like children, you know, each of them have their own place in my heart. However, I always joke around with this cab as calling it my assertive wife, because I think that it's beautiful and elegant and feminine and has
It's a very
all of
soft
this
wine.
cashmere Christmas-like quality to it.
Yeah.
But it also has backbone and structure and something to say. And it has an assertiveness that's like, don't forget about me. Don't put me to the side. But it has such a graceful presence. And I think because we did do it for 24 months in oak and it's been in the bottle for a year, it's coming to a point in which, you know, all of those flavors that kind of get mumble jumbled up in the bottling and filtration process, it's starting to kind of, you know, come forth.
So that brings me to, you know, people buy wines, they collect wines, and then they say, oh, don't open that until X year.
Sure.
How does that get determined? I mean,
I've
how
always
do you
wondered
know?
about that too.
Like, I've got a bottle I'm not supposed to open until 2 years from now. I've been holding it for a really long time. But
Yeah.
What is it that determines that's when it's at its peak, and how do you know that?
Well, the two qualities back to acid and tannins are super, super assertive in the beginning. And then over time, as it ages, those kind of fall back a little bit. And then the beautiful layers in between are able to step up a little bit more, you know, and it gives it more depth, more layers in the mouth, more dimension, more smells.
Got it.
And so, yes, every wine kind of develops at its own pace, if you will. A good way to check is if you pour a glass out of the bottle, put the cork in it, taste it the next day. If the next day it still has body and you know, grippiness, then it's still a wine that has ageability. And so you just have to kind of think of how it's going to break down in the cell level, on how it's going to age. I always recommend, if you really like a wine, buy maybe 6 bottles, and then on the bottom with a silver Sharpie, write dates on it and taste it. You know, try one a year from now. And if it tastes great the way it should be, drink it all. I mean, like, wine should be drank. But if you feel like, okay, wow, this is still a little brash, a little assertive, it needs a little bit more time, then you're moving forward onto that next tier of
Okay.
your
So there's
storage.
no like magic number. Wait 5 years from the day that it came, to the year on the
Yeah.
bottle. So there's no magic
Well,
number there.
I mean, everything you have to understand that it has to be in an ideal aging situation. I tell
Too many
people,
variables.
yeah, I tell people if you don't have a dark, cool, humid place
Mhm.
to keep your wine, just drink it. Don't think that you're going to nurture it into a better condition and then
Right.
you're putting it in the trunk of your car.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. Wine is alive, and if you love it and you nurture it and you give it the capability to grow and mature in a beautiful spot, awesome.
Mhm.
But
But most people don't have that environment
sure,
built into their home.
I think that the culture of wine drinking is changing. I
Yeah.
think that people are looking for a more drinkable, ready wine. And so that's why when we make our collection, for example, My Amantes
Mhm.
has ageability, but I do really kind of try to focus on making it something that is drinkable now that has, the potential to just open the cork and drink it.
Okay.
I think, as well, back to the color and the tannins, the darker, richer those are,
Mhm.
likely it's going to age well.
Okay.
Mm.
Now I have these two questions in my mind, and I know I'm going to forget them, so I'm going to start asking them.
Okay.
Now, I always feel like up until a few years ago, I was really intimidated to go to tasting rooms because I don't know. Well, I do now, but I didn't know what you're supposed to do. Are you supposed to spit? Are you supposed to swirl? Are you supposed to all over your tongue? Are you
Yeah.
supposed to
Like how?
all of these things? Yeah. They're doing, and you
Yeah.
walk into that environment. So for a newbie, what are they supposed to be expecting, and how is that to be presented? Like, what do they
Sure.
do?
Well, I first suggest not chewing gum.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd prefer that you didn't come in with Tecate Light in your hand. Let's think about a clean
So
palate.
So great.
And I do think traditionally opening it up in the glass, because your wine is telling you a story.
Mhm.
And as it evolves in the glass, as it matures, as it opens up, you're going to see different facets of that wine. I suggest, using all of your senses to taste. Try not to slam it.
Which is, it happens a lot.
Totally. Yeah, I
People
get
are
it.
like,
good.
okay, tasted that one.
And it's totally fine to go wine tasting earlier in the morning. Your palate's fresher. So early, I'll take 10 o'clock.
She said
tastings.
it.
Yes.
10 o'clock is
Because
fine.
at the end of the day, your palate's so muddled with things that you
Okay.
ate and all of the environment and all of that, and then everything that you've tasted throughout the day. There's just residual flavors. And ask questions. If you're really at a good place, I want you to ask questions.
Mhm.
There is over 3 years of my life in your glass. It is so personal to me that if you have a question and you want to know anything, I will gladly share that with you, because I'm hopefully entrusting you to love my child, But other than that, experience. It just takes time. I don't think there's really a wrong way. And spit if you don't like it. Don't finish the wine if you don't
Okay.
like it
All right.
either,
Like, I can never figure out, are they spitting because they don't want to get drunk, or are they spitting because they just don't like it? Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's professional tasters out
Yeah.
there that really do spit because they're responsible.
Mhm.
I'm not that
Not me.
responsible. But at the same time, I'm not going to be offended if you don't finish the wine.
Mhm.
Every wine is not for everybody, and rather than diluting your palate and making everything muddled, I'd rather you taste it. Don't write anything off. I hate when people come in like, oh, I don't drink white wine.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
You
well,
haven't
try
had
mine.
yours. Yes.
Try it.
mine. Yeah.
Try it. And if you don't like it, that's cool. At least you tried it. It's almost like convincing a kid to eat vegetables.
Mhm.
Just try it out.
Mhm.
But-
And then are you supposed to do that weird thing where you let the air into your mouth?
Sure, go for it. Try it now.
Yeah, so you almost like keep your mouth just slightly open and then start running the air through it.
See, and what's the purpose of it?
Okay, just like swirling it in the glass. I also, like you were saying, chew it. I'm moving around. Different parts of your palate have different receptors. And so you're trying to get the full picture. Rather than just looking at it from head on, you're getting almost a 360.
Okay. All right. We have a question here from Cynthia. She says, after you remove the cork but don't want to drink the whole bottle, what's the best way to store it? Or should she just drink the whole bottle? Great question, Cynthia.
I like drinking the whole bottle. Totally. My dad's line is, God hates a quitter. However,
so many good one-liners today. We're putting these in the show notes.
If you do want to take the responsible route, I have one of the vacuum pumps that I use, and then I pop it in the fridge. Even if it's a red wine, I think that the wine itself, stores better cooler, because people don't understand wine
is its natural state when you have it stored.
Yeah, in my cave we're at 17 degrees, 58 degrees Fahrenheit. We want it a little bit cooler because it is alive. Just think of yourself like if you're sitting out in the sun all day, you're exhausted and you're, flabby, if you will, just like the wine will be. If you bring it up to a more refreshing temperature.
And so then if you did that, the next day, do you bring it up to room temperature before serving again?
Sure. Yeah, like a red wine. Even if I have a party, I'll pop the wine in a fridge for maybe 45 minutes, and then maybe 15 minutes before guests come, I open it up and I let it come to temperature a little bit.
All right, fantastic. All right, now, sorry.
Well, can I just comment one thing? I think one of my favorite things since becoming Kris's friend, and I think that this is something that a lot of my friends know about me, is that her passion and how much she constantly talks about, she's constantly educating me on, like, the wine is alive. I love hearing that. Don't put it in your trunk. If you're going to the next winery, don't put it in your trunk, guys.
Bring it inside.
Bring it inside.
Don't kill it.
Yeah, don't kill it.
And that's not an offensive thing to do? To bring the wine from
that's showing me that you care about my neighbor's work, because I love my neighbor.
Okay.
It's totally fine. I mean, you wouldn't leave your kid in the car. You wouldn't leave your pet in the car. Why would you leave your wine in the car?
All right.
But then I also just love the fact that you always say, that's my kid. That's 3 years of my life. That's 5 years of my life. And very often I'll bring back, because you're only allowed to bring one bottle back from the border. We need to change that. Anyway, every time I bring a bottle back, I feel like it's my friend's child that I'm bringing back across the border. And when we pop that bottle with my friends, it's like, here are 3 years of my friend's life.
Yeah.
It's very personal to you.
You start to realize that, I mean, I remember stories where Kris has shared, where she was pregnant, and picking grapes. And I'm just like, my God, woman, like, do you ever stop? But I think that that's one of the most incredible things about, the fact that you are actually very hands-on, and that this wine isn't just another Cabernet that you just kind of find mass-produced in the stores. I think that that's one of the most incredible things that you find in Valle.
Yeah, there are deliberate decisions and choices that are made. We don't use 100% of every barrel. Because we're not looking for large quantities of okay wine. When we make our monovarietal, we pick and choose different characteristics that best represent that grape, and then we compose that together in the most elegant way that we can. And then we also have a blend that we do, amantes, and then what's left that we feel just doesn't make the cut, we distill. So,
oh wow,
yeah, but there is an authenticity, because it's not just my name, it's not just my family's name, it's El Valle de Guadalupe. And I don't want to be the one responsible for giving a first impression of Mexican wine and it just being mediocre.
Yeah.
Right.
Powerful, guys.
Yeah.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
It's getting hot in here.
I think that's the booze.
Now, can you explain to me what natural wines means? What is the definition?
Yeah, absolutely. So, wine is grape juice fermented. And there's a natural occurring yeast that's out in the fields. And so people who pursue natural wines choose to have as little intervention on the process
Okay.
of converting it to wine as possible. And it's a really risky business.
Mhm.
That's not something that we choose to
Mhm.
do. Not saying that it's one way is better than the other. I think that it's a real
Mhm.
it's a real ballsy. Sorry, I was like, I don't want to be offensive. It's a real ballsy thing to do because you are putting yourself in a lot of kind of situations that it could go
Mhm.
either way.
So the challenges are more significant when you
Yeah.
try and create a natural wine.
Sure.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out what that meant. I didn't know if it's just the now is
What I mean, I'm confused. What's the difference between natural and or other wines? What are the other wines?
Sure.
What would they be
I
considered?
would be another.
Okay.
And so what I do is I work with scientific labs that have perfected yeast strains and nutrients. And so what I do is I work with Lafort or Scott's Lab, and I bring in these yeasts that bring out phenolics that I am looking for in the wine. That you can do a yeast that's due for higher alcohol, or that you want longer ageability, all of these sorts of things. And by bringing in this yeast and being able to kind of nurture it through every single step
Yeah.
means that I am getting, in my opinion, the best quality of my perceived intention of this grape.
Got
so
it.
you can forecast what your end product
It's
is
an
to
educated guess.
to an
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
To
She's
an
like, it's an
extent.
educated guess at best.
Yeah.
Now, Michelle,
Mhm.
for you, you are around the whiskeys all the time. Are there any that just you've come across in this last year that have just really surprised you, where it maybe didn't come from a distillery that you particularly had liked in the past, or that we're really impressed with, and just blew your mind?
So that kind of makes me think about the joy of when we do blind tastings, actually.
Okay.
And so we do that for the public, and we also do it amongst the staff members.
Mhm.
That when we're working, you choose any whiskey that's $15 or less off of the wall, and
because you don't have very many of those, do you?
just a few, just a few. And then we don't have to guess what it is. But I've had some really amazing experiences where, I always had like a little bit of a thing against Bullocks. I was like, oh, it's just all marketing. And I tasted the Bull Rye blind. I was like, it's actually not that bad. All right, that's fine. So, I've definitely had experiences like that. In terms of favorite whiskeys, I feel like it is very similar to what you stated, that is kind of like choosing a favorite child. It's actually, I have people come like, oh, what's your favorite whiskey? I'm like, I can't give you one. I'm sorry.
Right.
Sure.
Give me like a price range and a style, and then I'll tell you like what my top 3 or 4 are. But
Yeah, I always say it depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. Of who I'm with and what's the feeling, you know? Like, are we going to be like deep, sultry, romantic? Okay, well, I'm going to go this way. Are we going to be like fun, lively, let's do it? We're going to go this way.
Yeah. I would say just as a general term or as a general rule, I do usually go for either a high proof bourbon or a really smoky scotch. And so that's just my direction. I usually go with my flavor profile, but there really aren't any whiskeys that I don't like, that I haven't been surprised by on a second tasting of it.
Now, I really like that the whiskey that has all of that peatiness to it. That to me makes me really slow down and pay more attention to the whiskey when I'm drinking it. First of all, I don't drink a lot of liquid, and what I mean by that is like I don't drink a lot of water in a day. Like drinking, so for me, whiskey and wine are two of the best things. Like cocktails that come in giant 16-ounce glasses, I just don't understand that whole concept.
Well, but then there's like tiki drinks, guys. I mean,
yeah, right. But that's why these two things.
There is so much rum.
It's a slower intake. I get to sip it. That's really kind of my warm space. I really love. Now, for you, I heard you've traveled to all these different regions. Where has been your favorite travel trip to go and just explore?
So I've done a little bit of traveling.
Okay.
I think Claudia's giving me a little bit too much credit right now. So a few times a year we do go out to Kentucky and we'll do barrel selections at the distilleries there, and that's always a really amazing experience. As far as barrel selections, part of the reason I brought this bottle in actually is because Wild Turkey is hands down my favorite barrel selection experience ever.
Really?
A lot of the distilleries you go to, they'll have a really beautiful tasting room set up for you, and you'll have your whiskey set out in glasses, the barrels over to the side so you can see where it was coming from, and you taste through and you discuss it. When you go to Wild Turkey, Eddie Russell, who's the current master distiller there, literally just like grabs a box of supplies, gets in his truck, has you follow him out to his warehouse, And he just walks in and he's like, yeah, so we got these 50 barrels lined up right here. Just pick which ones you want me to pop open and we'll taste them.
Wow.
And it's just like the coolest, most organic experience I think that you could have in terms of that. So
Very cool. Now, is that something, are distillery tours and these tastings, are those open to the public in
Well,
general?
not like that.
Distilleries
Not like that,
do
yeah.
have distillery tours open. Ours is a little bit of a different situation in that we basically go there to buy an entire barrel of whiskey. So which is going to be anywhere between like 175 like 240 bottles worth. So
quite the
if you want to
inventory.
buy, if you
could see my face,
barrel,
it looks like one of those like heart emoji ones with like the hearts over the eyes.
if you want to buy a barrel, that's open to anybody.
Okay.
It's just, you more often see that happening within the business world, but
Yeah.
I've definitely had some people come in who are customers who've purchased barrels for the fun of it.
Really?
Wow.
But I am not in that income bracket.
Oh,
personally,
we need
so.
to go ahead and put a little fund aside for something like that.
Jesus.
I'm down.
I mean, like,
Who's in? Who wants to go in on?
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it might make more sense.
Who
If any of you
wants-
want to go
yeah.
in on it with us,
Let us know. We'll
That was
organize
lined up
that.
perfectly.
So, what do you have happening at Bar 3 Piece coming up that our audience can join in with?
Well, so for tomorrow, actually, we do have a whiskey master class going on in preparation for St. Patrick's Day. So we have the West Coast brand ambassador for Tullamore Dew and Teeling Irish whiskey combined together.
Wow.
So you're going to be getting a Welcome Old Fashioned and then 3 Tullamore Dew whiskeys and 3 Teeling whiskeys and an exit cocktail with them wrapping off of each other. It's going to be really
And
good.
how
Very
much is
excited
that?
about
Called
$25.
Uber?
$25.
Guys,
$25.
$25, 6 tastings,
Yeah.
plus a welcome cocktail and a hasta luego, have a great night cocktail. I mean,
Uber loves
This
Whiskey
is-
Society.
oh my gosh, yeah, seriously, I like always Uber in, Uber out. But like, it's not even just like, I mean, you guys, like, seriously, the welcome cocktail is like so good. The other day, like, we had like a highball from with like Centauri whiskey in it, just like a
Nice.
Japanese whiskey. Phenomenal. Like, it's so refreshing. It just like opens up your palate. It almost gives you like kind of like that mouth coat, so that you're just like, oh yes, this is phenomenal.
That's actually anytime I come in, or somebody comes in who would normally order a vodka soda and they want to try getting into whiskey. That's the one right there. Is
Alright.
doing a Japanese whiskey highball 'cause it's just really light, refreshing. There's just that little bit of a touch of the whiskey flavor profile to it,
Yeah.
but nothing too overpowering.
Smooth, doesn't put somebody off by making it too strong.
Yeah.
Tommy says he should be in this room. Hey, Tommy.
Yes, you should.
Yeah.
I had breakfast with Tommy this morning, so I've already seen
He's
him.
like a redhead, a brunette, and 2 blondes.
I know. He's like, that's the room I want to
He's
be
like,
in.
I need to be in that
no
room.
problem.
Sounds
with
like a
that.
joke.
I know.
A redhead, a brunette, and 2 blondes walk into a bar.
We're coming up with that punchline.
We totally do.
Finish the bottle.
Finish the bottle.
Go ahead, Sakura.
And now, Kris, what do you have going on at coming up here? I mean, we're opening the season very
Yeah.
soon here in Valle.
Yeah, no, everything is happening. It's been really fun and exciting to watch how I grow. We will be launching on the 15th. Our spring release party, which is our annual Memorial Day party, always spearheaded by our good friend Chef Drew Deckman of Deckman's in
cool.
Almagor. And we're also going to have Dan Cromer from Other Mama, best new chef in Las Vegas. And we will also have Lula from Mexico City, who's
wow.
a really highly acclaimed female chef. And the whole idea, a concept that I've been trying to carry through is the borderless theme. And so we're going to do a borderless barbecue. We're going to bring in, an American chef, a Mexican chef, and an American Mexican chef.
An American and Mexican.
Yeah, and so we're going to do that. It should be a lot of fun. Tickets do go live on the 15th.
And where can they get those tickets? On the website?
On the website, yeah. Follow our social media or on our webpage, Venus Lechuza.
Okay.
We'll have that there. And then...
And we'll put those links in the show notes, you all.
Cool,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, and then in the beginning of August, we'll have Conchas y Vino in April. Viñedos en Flor. I work with a group in Baja called Provino. The Provino calendar has a lot of really good, fun festivals. Really looking forward to that. And then I'm going to have Chef Claudia be my guest chef for my Vendimia or Harvest Festival in the beginning of August. And so...
Who's that lady?
I heard she can cook. So it's a lot of fun, and we're always open by appointment at the tasting room. The reason why we do appointment only is because my husband and I really try our best to personally host the tasting because once again it is such an emotional investment from our behalf. Yeah, and we're about to be blending our new wines, and then harvest is going to kick in. It's a whirlwind. There's never really a slow period for us, but we're super, super blessed. Everything is going great for us, and we've got good neighbors, and they're putting out some good wines. I just did a festival last weekend in Sonora and tried some more delicious wines from El Valle. So anytime a lot of you are here in San Diego hosts a lot of Baja events, and even if it's not Lechuza, please go support Baja because my neighbors are the best.
Fantastic. And where can we get tickets for Whiskey Society?
So the Facebook page will be live today at about 3 p.m. So just check out Bar
How
3 Piece or
quickly-
$7 grand.
How quickly do those Whiskey Societies tickets go, depending on the guest, right?
I would probably jump on as quick as you can today. Yeah.
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 And I mean, spring release. What day is that on?
May 26th.
So May 26th. Those have sold out for you in a matter of days.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 2 to 3 days.
Yeah,
Like,
I just
quick.
did my underground sales for folks that joined our mailing list via our website, and we've already have sold out on 50% of our available
Wow.
tickets.
So, guys, if you are even thinking about that, make sure that
Yeah.
you sign up. And side note, if you guys ever want to meet me, I am always at Whiskey Society. So
And you'll be at the spring release.
it's like a side note. Like, I mean, I'm not always there, and I will be at spring release, and of course, I'll be down August 5th for the Vendimia dinner, your first Vendimia dinner.
I know.
I'm so excited. I can't
is
I
really
feel like so
exciting.
blessed to be able to be the one that's going to be cooking for you guys that
Should
night.
be
And
cool.
we're gonna do some amazing stuff, so you guys can't miss out. You got to support these amazing ladies. They're doing
thank you.
phenomenal things.
And Claudia, what are you up to right now?
I'm not-
I could
don't do
say it,
anything.
but I'll let you say it.
Drinking in the
I'm
morning.
here in the morning.
Which is a feat all in itself. Just happy we could get you up and out in the morning.
You know, this weekend I'm going to be at Disney Food and Wine Festival, so I'm
that's
really,
right.
really excited to do that. Yeah,
I don't
so-
get to go on that trip ever, as me.
Yeah, my cousin is the one that manages that event for me. But yeah, I'll be at Disney California Adventure Saturday and Sunday, and then I'll be back in San Diego for one day, and then I think we're flying out to Peoria, Illinois, for the Epic Conference. So really excited about that, and then. I'm back for the Vanguard dinner, which unfortunately is sold out. Yeah, I mean, a lot of my events sell out very quickly, which I'm very blessed. And then I do have a dinner on March 26th. You can get tickets for that. It is benefiting a local organization called Mana de San Diego, which is an organization that helps at-risk youth, join up with mentors, and they call this the Hermanitas program. And so it's pretty much like the Little Sisters program. And it's an awesome organization. And so we're going to be raising funds for them. Tickets are $150 right now. But if you are watching this, there is a code for $50 off that I'm going to share with you right now, and that is Chingona Fire.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you will get $50 off those tickets. So make sure that you go and buy them. It's coming up March 26th. It's a Monday. It's going to be at Machete Beer House, which is the first beer house in South Bay, and it's locally owned. We're just taking a bunch of South region people, South Coast people, and doing some amazing things, trying to raise some money for organizations here in San Diego and trying to give back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I have going on in the next 2 weeks, guys.
Yeah, it is only 2 weeks.
And people can still book private dinners with you, though, right?
Yeah. I have my cookbooks and my dinners and private cooking classes on my website at chefclaudiascocina.com. Yep.
Well, thank you all for joining us. I've just got a few little announcements. One, if you have not been to Valle de Guadalupe, I absolutely recommend you go because it is such a phenomenal experience. It really, when people do say it's Baja's Napa, it's different. It is completely different. The soul and the spirit of it is completely different. And it's a beautiful region. There is no reason at all that you shouldn't experience it when it's really only an hour and a half as opposed to Northern California, which is so much harder to get to. So please, if there are so many people doing really wonderful tours down there. Claudia and I do them throughout the summer when we can find a pocket of time. And it's a beautiful experience, and it's family friendly. It's a wonderful trip. You can do it in a day trip, but we always suggest you stay over because it's a great environment. Other than that, I will be back on the 27th, and so will Mercy. We're going to have a great show. Please make sure you tune in. We'll put some reminders out there on the Hand to Mouth podcast, but we will have Sam the cooking guy in, and
nice.
it'll be a fun show. So if anybody wants to come and heckle him through the window, show up. 10 o'clock. It's perfect. But thank you all for joining us today. Ladies, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
That's it for this week's show. Remember to follow us on our Facebook page and Instagram stories to keep up with Hand to Mouth between shows. Use hashtag HandToMouthShow to share what deliciousness you're up to, and maybe you'll be our post of the week.
And a big thank you to the folks at Specialty Produce Network for producing our show from their studio in San Diego, California. Until next time, thanks for listening to Hand to Mouth.